Thank you, Hannah, for opening. And also today is our last week that Rachel is able to join us time-wise. During Corona, she was able to join us because it's mid-afternoon. Now she's going to be going back to work, so we're going to be saying a beautiful goodbye to her. So Hannah opened up such a place. I had tears in my eyes, and I think it was less from your words, Hannah, more from the rawness of your heart, like this yearning just really radiated outwards. And there's something of our yearning that is a prayer to Hashem. And there's something of our yearning that is a prayer to ourselves. It really is our experience. Like we yearn, we hurt, we're triggered, something pinches and pulls. And it's not that we have terrible lives, God forbid. It's just this is the process of expansion. You know, when you go to the gym and you exercise, it's called getting ripped, because you actually have to rip the muscles in order for them to build. So this is our human experience. And the thing about having these triggers and these yearnings, the first thing I want to talk about, moving from what Hannah said, is the idea of being with the questions, being with the experience of not having answers. My daughter once went out with not one guy, many guys, and she would have this experience where she's sharing of herself, and the guy, even if he's a great listener, like while she's sharing something that's really, really meaningful to her, he's like saying, yeah, I also feel like that also happened to me. And maybe she grew up with a coach mom, so she's used to like the deep listening environment, and a coach dad. So there's like very deeply listening environment, but she's like, I just really want him to hear me. Like, I don't want to hold his experience while I'm holding my, I just want him to be able to hold my experience all the way. I just want to be listened to. So there's something powerful about just having space to say what's real, to ask your questions, to not have to have the answers, to not have to have the perfect words, just to be held. There's my phone. So certainly Hashem, one moment please. Certainly Hashem can hold us, and that's what Hannah was talking about in the act of just offering our heart to Hashem. It's just my heart, that's all I got. If I can add some words to it, great. Sometimes I don't know the words. Certainly Hashem is always there to hold our heart. But sometimes we run interference. Here's the interference. The interference is when we don't know that our hearts deserve to be held. And so it goes something like this. I'm having this and this problem with this and this child, but it should be okay because really I know how to do this. I've raised other kids and it will be okay, and I'm very grateful to Hashem. And anyway, there's a good teacher and I'm going to make a plan, and I should just, the kid's going to be okay. I'm sorry I even brought it up. It's like we talk ourselves out of our feeling. This shouldn't be bothering me. I shouldn't be triggered. And it's like, I'm not allowed to sit in the yearning and the pain. If I sit there for too long, I blame myself, I blame the other, or more likely, it feels dangerous. It feels like, how can I sit in the unknown space? I can't solve anything from here. Like, it's too uncomfortable. It's like the mind is always seeking resolution. One of you out there knows what scientific principle or psychological principle this is. Put it in the chat box. I'd love to know. But someone taught me very recently a fascinating thing. They said this at my Shabbos table. When a song plays in your head again and again? Do you know how to solve that? This is interesting. By playing the song. The reason that your mind plays the song in your head again and again is because it's only playing that same fragment of the song, and it's looking for resolution. Once it hears the whole song, it's fine. But every time it plays those few lines again, because you don't know the next lines, or it can't sing the next line. So it's like, it just keeps going back to that. I had that this morning with a Yishai Ribo song, Keser Melucha. So many Hebrew words. So in the same way, our mind is uncomfortable without resolution. So it goes chasing down the answers. Now, if you're sitting with someone and you tell them, I'm in total heartbreak, I'm yearning. I'm yearning for Mashiach. I'm yearning for Shalom Bayis, for my husband to treat me sweeter. I'm yearning for my children to do better. I'm yearning to not be so lonely. And they're like, oh, you're yearning? You should get a self-help book. That's what you should do. And you know what else? You know, if you just treated your husband nicer, he would treat you nicer. This would be a terribly annoying person. It would not be a safe person to share your heart with. But we do this to ourselves all the time. We come up with a feeling and then we're like, now I have to fix it. And in that way, we are not safe to ourselves because we don't give ourselves, we're not a good date. We don't give ourselves the time and the space to say, oh, sweetheart, something's going on in there. I hear you, I see you. Oh, sweetheart, there's not a gentleness. How do we learn how to be with ourselves? We take our cues from Hashem. Mahu rachum afatarachum. Just as he is merciful, you be merciful. Do you think this means merciful only to other people? It's not merciful to throw answers at people when they're in distress. It's not merciful to demand of yourself that you figure out your whole life right now or figure out your next direction now. It's not merciful at all. What's merciful is to hold a space for yourself and really listen into the questions. When we open up the Rosh Hashanah Machzor, we see that it's full of questions. And the most terrifying places, the places of the utter unknown, in the prayer Unasana Tokef, which discusses what will be the fate of every human being, is all written in questions. Who will live and who will die? Who by fire and who by thirst? Who will feel wandering and who will be settled? Who will be rich and who will be poor? It's like a question. And we don't come to quick resolution in Rosh Hashanah. It's not like, okay, Rosh Hashanah is going to happen. I'm going to give it my best shot. And then I'm going to know the answer. Am I going to live this year or am I going to not? Right? So we take, again, our cues from Hashem. What is the process of evolution, of evolving? The process is simply to stand there, to be with the questions, the discomfort, and underneath that discomfort, to feel the innermost yearning of your heart. And then what you find out is something so special. What you find out is that that's all Hashem wanted anyway. He's not trying to freak you out and scare you. He just wants you to crown him king, to have a moment of true connection, to share your truest place, your shofar place in your heart with him. It's like my daughter's date. What does she want? She doesn't need him to figure out her whole life. She just wants to feel connected, that he can hold all of her, right? So we're looking at this on 3 levels right now. We're looking at the idea of staying in the space of the questions as a merciful, true, and valid, beautiful thing. So I'm just going to review over here. We do this with others. This is a beautiful way to treat a human being, not to come running fast with the answers, to simply hold space and say, wow, those are some really big questions on your heart. They don't have the answers. Do you actually think that you have the answers for their life? Probably not. You might have a bit of encouragement, a bit of something that helped you that you can share at some point. But as somebody shares their experience with you, your job is to hold space and to simply give compassion. One of the ways that you can give compassion is you can be a little bit more curious about, what is it like? What does it feel like to be in that space? How do you manage to be in awe, to witness someone? Wow, that's a lot. Or to be amazed. Wow, that's a lot. Look what you're doing. If you try this in your relationships, you'll see that you open up a much safer space. I experiment with this all the time with my teens because they come running for advice as if like I'm supposed to give them advice. And every time I do, I'm messing up. All they need me to say is like, wow, you've got a lot to think about. That is a lot. You've got this and that and that. Wow. And then the magic words, you got this. You got this. To be safe for other people. Then we come over to this safety with Hashem, to understand that it's an intimacy. He doesn't need us to have all the answers, and we don't need him to spoon feed us all the answers now, prematurely, in this instant. It's just the act of opening, of being held, that's so beautiful and so safe with Hashem. Our yearning of our hearts is more than enough. And if we feel like we have words with that, beautiful, beautiful. There's a safety with Hashem to start to learn that when you express something, he's holding all of it. He's not coming back with fast answers, and he's not demanding of you that you figure this out right now. If you could figure it out right now, then you would have already. The fact that it remains a mystery means that Hashem sees something about the situation that is growing you in the unknown space. It's growing you. You're on your way. And then finally, what we're looking at is to be safe to yourself. To be safe to yourself means that there is a merciful voice inside of you that does not demand that you figure out your whole life right now. That when a question comes up about a child, about any dynamic, about whatever financial situation is just so confounding you, you can be gentle with yourself and put your hand on your heart and do the same thing as I do to the teens, or as I try to. Hey, sweetheart, that's a big question. That's a lot for you to handle. What do you need? What do you need? How can I support you? How are you managing? You can witness yourself. My goodness, look at you. Like, look at all the pieces that you've got, and still you move forward in your life. Wow, you're so precious. Our relationship with Hashem and with ourselves is always two sides of one coin. So Hashem, he wants to be gentle with us, but he's counting on us to have a gentle voice in our head. You understand? He has mercy for us. He has the Yud Gimel Midos Rachmim, the 13 attributes of mercy that are highlighted this whole month and in the prayers on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not in the master this minute. Is it only one or the other? Is it only on Yom Kippur? Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur? Yeah. But he's counting on us to actively work on our inner dialogue so that we come to a kinder place and can accept his love. Now, we have a question, and the question is, we're coming to Judgment Day. So what in the world does it mean to stay with all this love and mercy? Isn't there such a thing called judgment? Don't you need to fix and correct? This is the time. So I want to share with you two things about that. The first is a story. The second is a tool. So story happened like this. My son just got married, and the wedding turned out to be bigger than we thought it was. We were trying to do a certain amount of social distancing, less than we're doing in Baltimore. This was in New Jersey. The laws are different, and where COVID is up to is different. So we basically got this wedding hall with a tent outside so people could really spread. Well, you know, they're popular kids. Probably another 100 teenagers came. So the police came in the middle of the wedding. The police really didn't want to bust up the wedding, so they were kind of standing inside. I didn't know that this drama was happening. They were standing inside trying to be polite, and they were talking to people outside. Some people had drank too much and were being terribly rude to the police, like young kids were being horribly rude. And I didn't know any of this was going on. Well, when I went outside and spoke to the head of this unit, and there were so many policemen there for so long, he was so upset. He's like, this is so disrespectful. I can't, what is happening here? And I had a panic attack. I was like, no, we are the Jewish people. Like, we're supposed to be beautiful and kind and honorable. And here, people are being disrespectful to the policemen who are coming here just doing their job at the wedding of my child. Not happening. These policemen need to go home to their families. They don't need to be standing here. What's going on? they want us to end the wedding. We're ending the wedding. It's not a question. So I go inside and I'm triggered now. I'm like buzzed. I'm upset. I'm freaked out that this is happening under my nose, and I start yelling. Now I really don't yell. And as I was talking to my son afterwards about this, and I was like, I really don't yell. I mean, like maybe once or twice you've heard me. He's like, maybe twice. So maybe twice. But this person just erupted inside of me, and I'm yelling at everyone because they kind of knew that the police were there at this point. And I was like, get out, because young people, I'm like, you need to leave. Just go to the tent. Get out, get out, get out, get out, get out. Now. And I'm yelling at everyone. I'm so upset that, like, God forbid, what's called Achil Hashem is happening. Okay, everyone leaves. They go to the tent. Some people actually leave. Some people go to the tent. And, we tried to feed the policemen the wedding cake. They weren't as excited as I would have hoped. But, afterwards, when things calmed down, I was a little embarrassed. I was kind of imagining like a video looking down at me, and I was being crazy. And not only that, but I was like telling these two women to leave, and they were talking to my son's mother-in-law. So basically I'm telling her to leave her own wedding. I'm like, wow, this is like pretty embarrassing. So I first I go and I apologize to the mother-in-law, and she's like, it's okay. Like it really had to happen. Like this had to end, and someone else was also getting upset, whatever. She was very nice about it. But then I listened to my inner dialogue, and it was very interesting, because my old inner dialogue would be like, how could you do such a thing? It's so embarrassing. And your son and that one, and you were out of control. And I would have like a list of blames this big of embarrassment and of just putting myself in this horrible category. And it was not great behavior. It was because it was reactive. That's why I could say it wasn't great, even though, thank God, the policemen were so relieved, man. Everyone was relieved. It turned out really, really well. They were so grateful. Peace was reinstated. Baruch Hashem, it was effective. But instead, what happened was that as I started to feel bad, because I've been in this work for a while, I heard like my inner heavenly voice, my divine inner wisdom. I heard Hashem saying to me, like, Rivka, Malka, you're awesome. I love your strength. I love that you took a stand for me, for not making Achil Hashem, not desecrating God's name by being disrespectful to people. Thank you. You're so amazing. My goodness, how you took action. You're fierce. You're unbelievable. And as I'm enveloped in this being witness for, yes, my beautiful qualities, I also hear, okay, now it's time to go apologize. And then I go apologize. I apologize to the mother-in-law. I have a little talk with my son. He had to have a little talk with his bride. It really wasn't as big of a deal to anyone else as it was to me in dealing with my inner feeling of humiliation. But what I want to show you with this story is that we grow from a space of love, not from a space of condemnation. In the space of feeling seen by Hashem completely, it was safe for me to say, and I have something I need to make amends for. In this space of kindness and mercy, we are safe to take an honest look at ourselves. And that's why El is the month of belovedness. Here's all this love coming at you. You're not less loved because you got something you need to fix. Just go ahead, fix it. Yay, okay, we fix it. It's all fixable. Everything is workoutable. So that is an answer to two questions. One major question of when you've grown up with a lot of religious observance, there's a great resistance to love. There's like this kind of dysfunctional relationship with judgment. So this isn't one understanding of how judgment and love are partners. In the space of love, judgment is safe and we can grow for real. And it's also the answer to your question about how our inner self dialogue, our relationship with our own self, is something that is important to our relationship with Hashem. critical. As I mentioned last week, we'll be going into this again and again, revamping our relationship with ourselves. Thank you for your beautiful words, Pearl and Randy. Okay. Now we are going to go to Rachel, and I'm just going to give you one tool. In wanting to improve during the month of Elul, we do seek concrete ways to change our life because we want to show our effort. Okay, we don't just want to think our effort or feel our effort. We want our life to look different. So I'm going to give you a little example that I am working with just to help you for your own life. And the little example goes like this. There's a certain way I mentioned last week that I need to structure my day, and the day needs to start off right, and that's my real LL work. That that's how it works for me. Got to get up early, got to do my exercise, and that. Okay. So instead of putting a to-do list, get up at 6:30 or get up at 5:30, which hasn't worked yet, I thought to myself, okay, let's think like a Gemara cup, like we're learning up a Talmud. Ready? Why is it hard to get up early? Because I go to bed late. Why do I go to bed late? Because I'm on my phone. What do I need to do? I need to turn off my phone. If my phone is off, then I'll just settle down nice and peacefully and then be able to get up really peacefully. Oh, beautiful. Okay, great. So my big work is not even to get up early. That's what comes out of my work. My big work is to honor that I want to get up early and therefore to come to the root, which for me in this circumstance is to the root behavior is turn off the phone. So I got a great app thanks to my son called Lock Me Out. Now my phone goes off at 10:30. Sorry, no texting me. This felt like a huge win for two reasons. One, I didn't set myself up for self-sabotage, which we do when we take on something that is just so hard for us. And number two, I'm able to point at something. This my phone goes off at 10:30. So I just offer you that as a tool. As you think about how do I want to grow, don't just give yourself something massive to do. Like my morning dream routine is very massive. That's not the point. Come to the root and gently work from there. The homework from last week, Amanda says, find a gift to give to ourselves and a task reminder to complete or activate our questions this week. Example, turn off the phone for a day or an extra compliment to spouse each day. So I'm going to move over to Rachel Wormley for our Tehillim. Thank you for allowing me to go overtime. And then afterwards, I want to go back to Amanda. And if you guys have a few more minutes, I would like the feedback from last week's homework. I always forget the weeks before homework, so you should always remind me. Okay, pressing pause. I have to add one more thing about my wedding story, since now you all know. Besides for my apology, there was the inner work of it was like Hashem highlighted for me that I have this reactivity within me. So that was also another piece of work on slowing down my reactivity. It may not always come out like yelling, but it's in there. So really pausing when I get triggered, checking in with my husband, checking in with Hashem. Okay. I'm loving these comments over here. We will send out the video, and we're just going to jump right now to Amanda. Amanda?
Hi there.
Hi.
So last week you asked me to remind the class of the homework. So what I wrote down here was loving commitment, find a gift to give ourselves in a task or a reminder to complete or activate our question for this week. For example, turning off your phone for 1 hour a day, say an extra 2 compliments to your spouse, cook 1 more meal per week or day, or whatever it is that you come up with for yourself.
So could you remind me, for some reason I can't remember, what was that homework in response to?
The things that I have written down before that may or may not be what it led into. But what I have written above it says, where am I not in love with myself? Judaism, spouse, or God? let me make a big effort to present a wonderful event for, oh, this was my own personal note.
Got it.
My
Yeah.
anniversary was last week. So I said, let me make a big effort to present a wonderful event for my anniversary with my husband this week. Show him how much he means to me and us. So we actually had a date night and I baked a cake. That's his favorite cake. Remember, we're still on opposite ends of the world right now. And we had a date night and Hashem gave us a beautiful experience. He bought a bottle of wine. I had a bottle of wine that was given as a gift, and they ended up being the exact same wine. Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
There. So yeah, the fact that I had no control over the bottle that was given to me, because it was, I believe it was a birthday gift, and I just happened to have opened it, and he had bought the exact same one. So
wow, must be hard having him far away.
we're figuring it out. We have a couple of yearnings that are just, it's hard.
Yeah.
Hard to see where he's at and hard to be at the same space. So
Yeah, such a distance.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So once upon a time when we did this very long coaching session that had no resolution, which reminds me of your experience right now. Like there's no resolution. He's there, you're here. I think Amanda's husband's in the army. Is that correct? No? Where is
No,
he?
he's a politician now. He's been assigned a political position, but he was running for politics back in January. And then with COVID, we got separated during the airports closing. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's yeah. I was just going to share for you this little line that helped me, but I feel like you kind of know it already. That when I was in a difficult, stuck place, I was like, there's no answers here. The only answer, like the end of the coaching session basically came to, there's something here for me. Like I couldn't change the situation. I couldn't change my husband. I couldn't change the job. There's something here for me. And I didn't know what it was. I have to tell you, I remember that place of utter, like, no answers. And from that place, whatever that was, all of my healing work, including this class that we're on today, came from that. That's how it was. So, I bless you that you can be nourished by whatever's here for you in this time. I'm here for you, by the way. Amanda's in our school, and it's a pleasure.
I can be honest in saying if we were not apart for so long, I wouldn't have had as much free time to delve as far into spirituality as I have. So a lot of the experience that I'm having right now, being in your coaching class and having had the experiences with Haya Lester's dream courses as well, like this all came out of this separation and being apart, and I was able to really focus on it. So it's a beautiful gift, and I know that my husband is very dedicated to us still, so my heart doesn't feel that not as anxious as it could, because I know that he's still dedicated to us and we're trying to make the right decisions and in safety and everything. So
you're amazing. You are amazing.
Thank you.
Alrighty, the journey continues. Thank you, everyone. It was a gorgeous time we spent together. If there's anything you want to put in the chat box, I'd love to read it. Perlman, I welcome you. And then we're going to go. Someone says, I have a chronic illness that affects many areas of my life. And between that and Corona, I was starting to feel down. I have been working this week on self-nurturing and listening to my body, which I feel guilty about and is in general so difficult for me. But at the same time, I know is so necessary and my body needs so badly. Now I'm feeling happier in general. Wow. Good for you. That's not easy action to take. It's not easy. It's like there's an inertia when you're not feeling good. It's just like so hard to get that like beginning momentum to do something for yourself, and you did it. So I'm very, very grateful that you're feeling better. And I also want to share with you about chronic illness. You don't need me to tell you this, how deeply it can affect your mood. It's just you have to be so gentle with yourself, because chronic illness, you can get down from chronic pain and from the stress and from the doctors. And that can lead you into a spiral of self-blame and a feeling like, why am I not managing and other people are managing? So you must know that if someone has chronic illness, it's like double, triple this work on being gentle with yourself, because there's so much that you can't do that you want to do. The mind tells you, oh, you ought to be able to do that like you once did. No, you're not the same as you once were. Right now is a time for kindness. That's the first thing. And the second thing that I wanted to say is that when someone has an experience of a part of themselves, whether it's a spiritual, emotional, or physical experience, that's an indicator that their teshuvah is going to come from that place. So for example, well, I'm going to take your example. If somebody has a lot of physical distress, physical aches and pains and chronic illness, that means that their teshuvah, which is their road home, their road back to Hashem, back to themselves, is embedded in the illness. In other words, taking care of your body is what is the avoda, is what you need to do. The illness is speaking to you about how to come close to Hashem. So in my stories that I oftentimes share, I've had a lot of heartache. In my heartache, that heartache is not that, trauma and drama. The heartache is my path back to Hashem. If you're in the unknown, your unknown space is your path back. So especially, it's very, very underrated. We tend to divide up like soul work is soul work. There's so much soul work to do by taking care of the body, by worshiping Hashem, by taking care of your physical body. And when he gives illness, he's letting you know that. So I just bless you that you are able to continue this.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Have a wonderful week.
You too.
Look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Me too. God willing, some of you will join our coaching school when we open up registration in like 4 months, because that's a much more interactive space. Because our class is so short, that's why I'm not able to make it as interactive. I do a lot of the talking, but God willing, we'll meet over there also. And I'm just going to read a few more of these things over here. Carol says, can you explain what work you did after your trigger by the wedding? Well, okay, it goes like this. First, I actually was reactive, which is a gentle word for angry. The person should never act out in anger at other people. That's not acceptable. So, but the thing about anger is that it's a release of tension. So actually, for a little while there, I was feeling really good. I didn't even know I did something wrong, because all this like tension in me, all this fright, it released. So the first work that I did was, as I started to feel my discomfort, started to look back at my actions, I did an inner accounting. Was that okay or was that not okay? How do I feel about that? I had this temptation to like go and ask my husband, but I felt like, no, if I that wouldn't be safe for me. I need to first assess in myself what is happening over here. Then I realized I need to apologize. So then I apologized. Then once the apology was accepted, I was like, it was the next day, and I started thinking about, whoa, Rivka, Malka, you can do that. Not everyone can do that, not everyone can like yell at 100 people. Like, you have that Mida inside of you. It's like one of your shadows. Oh, maybe it doesn't come out, but it's in there. Time to work on that reactivity. So after I spoke to my son, the next day I felt safe enough in myself, not judging towards myself that I could bring it up with my husband. I brought it up with my husband, and I said to him, how come you didn't say to me anything about this? He said, I knew you'd feel bad about it after. Like, you're your own best punisher. So I said, yeah. He said, why didn't you come to me? Like, you could have just come to me. We could have figured something out. So my little feisty self was like, why would I come to you if I felt that there was an action to take? Like, do I need to check with you before an action? Just my little feisty self. I had to ask the question. So he said, no, but we could have figured out together what to do. I said, really? What would you have done? He said, well, I would have pulled the plug on the music. That's the first thing. And then I would have closed the lights. And that's an indicator to people, it's time to go. I would have made an announcement. And there had been announcements made by this time. That's why I was so frustrated. There was plenty of announcements, but people are partying, right? Close the lights. And I was like, wow, that's really genius. That's so gentle. That's like, it can be done. So then what I saw about myself was that there's a reactivity and there's a space for me to learn that everything, almost everything, not danger, not unbelievable injustice, almost everything can be accomplished with calmness. Calmness. I wanted to say gentleness, but gentleness is often, 90% of the time, calmness always. It can be accomplished. Rachel Wormley is my friend who teaches me this all the time. Calm, considerate, measured. This is a dignified, beautiful way to be with no regrets. So that was that. Then, after all that happened, I told you guys the story, and that helps me to process also. It's really helpful after you've done some inner trigger work and you sorted it out with Hashem. You sort it out with yourself, you sort it out, just like process through it. So thank you for learning, but also for the sharing. Did that answer your question? Let's check it out. Oh, yay, it did. I'm very happy. Okay, this year will be on Torah Anytime. And I see that there is a few more comments here. And if you have time, I have time. Let's just look at this. Someone says, I love that. It's so true that reaction is really anger, but sometimes it's a release that needs attention. You know what it does? So what do we do with anger that is a release that needs attention? So it's something that I've been exploring actually this year because despite this story, I have a very allergic reaction to anger, to angry people, to my own anger for all my life until this year. And this year I was experimenting with anger and healing, and I found that you can heal and heal and heal, but if that anger is not expressed, you're literally sitting on volcanic power, and that power makes you take action in your life, is clarifying, it's tremendously unbelievable. So I'm still exploring it. Literally, I'm like pick up information about it, and I don't want to give a whole share about it. But what I could say right now is that anger is important in clarifying boundaries. Where anger is not acceptable is when it's directed at people. In other words, if your behavior makes me angry, then I am allowed to feel my anger. I can write about it. I can think about it. I can go jogging. I can say it in tefillah. I can bring my anger to Hashem. But I cannot, you see the violence even in my fist? I cannot come to another person with violence. Anger is violence. It says, I think it's Revolvi says that yelling at a child is worse than hurting him. When you hurt a child, you're only reaching the outside of their skin. When you yell at a child, it's your ruach, your spirit coming out of you at them. And it like literally transmits this violence into their system. So we cannot take our anger out at other people. It's violent. Expressing anger to Hashem is a safe place to express. And yet, even in that expression, so there's a level of that, but we always remember that anger is it's just the eruption that's hiding all the riches, the rich nutrients that are underneath, the minerals that are underneath the surface, the real gifts. The real gift is I express this anger. Now I have freed up space to feel my pain, to feel my sadness. And what's special about that is now I'm able to be held in what I experience. When you're angry, nobody can hold you. Not Hashem, not another person. You're just angry. So yeah, it needs the release, but underneath that is the real gift. Okay, I think we're done. And there's a few messages here about personal health issues that I don't want to do it on the recording because they're personal. But here's one that's not personal. Is that the same for someone who experienced emotional abuse or neglect? I don't know what that was in reference to. If you would like, you could tell me what that was in reference to, because I don't know what that question is about. Chaya needs a refuah shalema. May you have a refuah shalema. It's very, very difficult, your circumstances. Marielle, may things be sweet for you. You're welcome. And Bracha, may you have a refuah shalema. Let us daven for our friends who are all here. You can all see the chat box. You can all see what's written here. It's not easy thing. And Erica really wants to grow. May your prayers be answered. And you're welcome to all the thank yous. And thank you, Raquel, for replying to that person. Okay. Goodbye, everyone. Have a beautiful Elul. Be gentle with yourselves and see if you can take on a concrete action. Bye-bye.